Hello everyone, good day. I am Etidal Dela Paz-Gallones and I will be presenting my research study entitled MUSIKALIDAD, Music Videos to Manage Hyperactivity of Learners with Intellectual Disabilities, which was conducted last June of 2023. So let's proceed. I will discuss the following. So considering the number in the light of our present Philippine population, it will mean that 2.2 million Filipinos fall under the category of intellectual disabilities, which was considered as the second most common disabilities in the country. Also, in 1995 national census, it is indicated that 84% of the people with intellectual disabilities are educable. They can be trained, educated, and are enabled to become self-reliant and useful citizens. So, however, these learners take longer time to learn. So the World Health Organization, or the WHO 2002, estimates that 3% of any given population in the world are persons who are mentally challenged, or now known as persons with intellectual disability. In the SPED class Polaris of the President Ross East Elementary School, out of 34 learners, 18 of these learners have been diagnosed with intellectual disabilities, and these learners exhibited hyperactivity, egoistic, inattentiveness, fidgety, and the most common of all their behavior difficulties is hyperactivity, wherein they cannot sustain an ample amount of time in engaging to the activity at hand. Fidgety and obtains limited amounts of focus to a person or activity at hand. So, according to the medlineplus.gov, hyperactivity means that increased movement, impulsive actions, and a shorter attention span, and being easily distracted, impulsiveness, inability to concentrate, aggressiveness, and similar behavior. Hyperactivity is often considered more of a problem for schools and parents than it is for the child. So every child aims of achieving inclusivity amongst their learners, and enhancing their hyperactivity can pave way in which they can achieve focus and attention so that learning can take place, as well as enhancement of their overall development, which is essential to future inclusion and employment. So using, therefore, according to the AACAP org, typically, so these children and adolescents spend 2.5 hours a day listening to music via radio, phones, MP3 players, internet streaming sites, etc. So with the above mentioned scenarios, the researcher believed that music videos is an effective behavior management technique to manage hyperactivity of learners with intellectual disabilities. Learners can learn better if they actively participate in the learning process, wherein they are engaged and motivated to learn. And when they build their learning from their existing knowledge, understanding, interest, and when the teacher guides the student in their behaviors, performance, socialization, provide access to resources, and help students think critically as they work of completing their task. Hence, this study was conducted. So we have the following statement of the problem. So in general, this study aimed to determine how music videos can be used to learners with intellectual disabilities in order to surpass the challenges in managing the common behavioral characteristics that hinder learning in the class. Furthermore, this study aimed to manage the hyperactivity of learners with intellectual disabilities enrolled at the SPED class, or Special Education Class Polaris, of President Ross East Elementary School using music videos as a behavior management technique this school year 2022-2023. In order to do the aforementioned, the following research questions were formulated. First, what is the level of learners' hyperactivity before and after their exposure to music video as a behavior management technique? Second, what were the observed changes on learners' hyperactivity during and after the implementation of the intervention? And last, what challenges or dilemmas were encountered during the implementation of the intervention? So, we now go on to our methodology. Because this study aimed to manage the hyperactivity of learners with intellectual disabilities enrolled in the special education class of President Rojas East Elementary School using music videos in teaching the class this school year 2022-2023 in the section of Polaris. To achieve this goal, quantitative and qualitative method was utilized. For quantitative, the researcher identified the present hyperactive behaviors evident in the learner with intellectual disabilities, which is based on the researcher made pre-assessment and post-assessment checklist on hyperactivity behaviors of learners with intellectual disabilities. The 15-item hyperactive behavior checklist questionnaire highlighted the common hyperactive behaviors in the behavioral domain of learners with intellectual disabilities, designed to capture broader perspectives for the SPED teacher and parents by rating how often the behavior existed, which was presented in a Likert scale. The purpose was to identify present behaviors that they manage as teachers and parents of learners with intellectual disabilities. For qualitative, or the part 2, we have 2 sets of semi-structured interview questionnaire was constructed. A 5-item interview questionnaire for parents and a 4-item self-assessment interview for the special education teacher. So aside from the researcher-made hyperactive behavior checklist questionnaire chosen, which is written in Hiligaynon language, which will suit the participants' understanding. So the researcher was the main instrument during the interview process and an active participant in the study. The researchers studied the data as they will be transcribed and reviewed on what the participants had described, shared as their opinions, experiences, and challenges. So, what is our management technique? The use of music videos as a behavior management technique proposed in the study aimed to manage hyperactivity of learners with intellectual disabilities by providing them with an enriching and experiential educational experiences. This behavior management technique took learners out of the confines of traditional classroom settings and immerses creative and interesting concepts, leveraging real-world hands-on context to enhance and lessen their inappropriate behaviors in the class setting, especially the hyperactivity. So our methodology or the management technique that we will be using is the MUSIKALIDAD. So what is MUSIKALIDAD? It is a Google Drive compilation of music videos for class integration for learners with intellectual disabilities. These are Tagalog and English educational music videos with dance steps or actions which could be imitated and also are quality assured by the Department of Education. So it was all excerpt in the YouTube teachers and parents permit were given to secure the privacy and willingness of the participants. So the implementation, the participants will be the learners with intellectual disabilities. Duration, so we have this 2-week implementation phase. And the location will be at the SPED class, Polaris classroom of the President Rojas East Elementary School in President Rojas, Capiz. So throughout this class, the SPED teacher used music videos in teaching the learners either in one-on-one session or in small group discussion. So from putting hands together, motivational activities, and until their dismissal for attention and focus to be retained. So these are the different musics that I integrated in the class. We have 7 musics all in all, which were integrated before in our circle time, during our class, and after our class session. So, this study will focus on learners with intellectual disabilities of the special education class Polaris of President Rojas East Elementary School, which was composed of 10 boys and 8 girls with a total of 18 learners with intellectual disabilities. Also, the participants will also be a special education teacher, only 1, and 6 parents, which will be interviewed in the study. So now we will proceed to our results. So the result of the study showed that we have the table 2. The result of the study showed that the hyperactive behaviors stated in the pre-assessment checklist of learners with intellectual disabilities are often with a grand mean score of 62.67. So what does this imply? So this implies that learners with intellectual disabilities have hyperactive behaviors that were evident 5 to 10 times in the class, which makes it difficult for the teacher and the parents to teach the child. So the learners need to have a behavior management technique which could manage the hyperactivity of learners for learning to occur. So therefore, utilizing music videos in teaching its dance steps and actions in the class makes a winning argument. Table 3, the table 3 shows that after the music videos as a behavior management technique for learners with intellectual disabilities, the post-assessment checklist resulted never with a grand mean score of 75.73. This result implied that there is a huge difference wherein the hyperactivity of learners with intellectual disabilities of the SPED class Polaris were managed and lessened, that the results showed that due to the behavior management technique, which is the use of music videos in class, the learners were able to learn without the occurrence of hyperactive behaviors evident before the intervention, and they were able to be attentive, focus more, and give and perform activities given to them by the teacher. So the SPED teacher and parents stated different positive feedbacks regarding the usage of music videos, and they were able to outline and formulate an action or a course of action. We also have the table 4. So, which shows that the comparative means of 18 learners with intellectual disabilities where their parents answered the pre-assessment and post-assessment checklist on hyperactive behaviors before and after the behavior management technique implementation. The mean obtained before the intervention was 62.67, while after the intervention, it was into 75.73. The test showed a significant difference before and after the intervention. The p-value or the significance is 0.004, which is less than 0.05, which signifies a difference. So indeed, the results coincide with the theory applied in this study that the more the learners experience firsthand the concepts, techniques, and lessons, the more they learn and their behaviors, especially their hyperactivity, are managed and enhanced. So this finding indicates that the pre-assessment and post-assessment checklist on hyperactive behaviors of learners with intellectual disabilities were varied significantly, which implies that the behavior management technique or intervention was a very effective approach to manage the hyperactivity of learners with intellectual disabilities. So we will state the observed challenges, changes, dilemmas, and feedbacks of the SPED teacher and parents before and after they undergone with the behavior management technique. So first, we have the identification of learners. So the SPED class Polaris shows that 18 learners were diagnosed with intellectual disabilities, which belongs to ages 5 years old to 21 years old, who were enrolled in the institution. So throughout the school year, these learners also have different interests and learning strengths, and once encouraged and enhanced with ample time given and meaningful lessons, these challenging characteristics is managed and lessened. We also have hyperactive behaviors of learners with intellectual disabilities disruptive to the teaching and learning process. So the result shows that learners with intellectual disabilities exhibit hyperactive behaviors which hinder them from learning. So based on the responses of the SPED teacher as well as the parents, there are common behaviors that are considered as a challenge by parents and SPED teachers. Specifically, we have hyperactivity, we have fidgety, short attention span, funds of going out, delayed communication skills, destructive in class, and lack of sense of danger and direction. So next, we have what are the benefits of music videos and the challenges or dilemmas of learners with intellectual disabilities. So the results showed that the music videos was beneficial to learners with intellectual disabilities, for they will have activities which will enhance the overall development by engaging into first-hand experiences and use their senses. So these learners became open to their parents through communicating what they did in class and what they were curious about, even what they feel. So one more, what are the observed changes on the hyperactivity of learners with intellectual disabilities before and after behavior management technique or intervention? So the participants, the SPED learners, the SPED teachers, and the parents have positive and negative perceptions on their whole experience in this research. They are happy, they are excited, enjoyed, and entertained because they learned a lot from music videos presented, as well as the development of other skills beneficial in the learning of learners and lessened challenges experienced by the SPED teacher or parents in teaching their learners. Based on the findings of the study, the following recommendations were formulated. First, the division of copies through the education program supervisor of SPED should encourage SPED teachers in the field to use music videos and formulate an assessment to monitor their behavioral progress as the strategy to enhance their behaviors and manage hyperactivity not only in school but also in their homes. Second, school administrators should persuade, support, and inspire the teachers to embrace inclusive education and being open to teaching learners with intellectual disability with enhanced behaviors, socialization skills, and still gradually practice the behavior management technique proposed. So the music videos grabbed in the YouTube application should be checked. Owners of the video should be informed and credited formally so that intellectual property will be respected. So the checklist and interview questionnaire should be reviewed thoroughly by applying the feedback of the teacher and parents' perception in answering the assessments done. So it will enhance content and structure of music videos and its follow-up researcher-made assessments. It will as well become more learner-centered, child-friendly, and eliminate the problem that the participants encountered by answering it. Next, teachers who have learners with intellectual disability enrolled in their general education classes are encouraged to use the compiled music videos and assessments to these learners. So it will help them manage well the hyperactivity of the learners enrolled to them. So next, teachers should be more innovative in planning and developing instructional materials suitable in the different learning delivery modalities by keeping themselves abreast of the recent way of teaching to continuously deliver the quality education that each learner deserves. For the parents, they are encouraged to follow up with their children in their homes with regards to their studies and to work hand in hand with the teachers in providing support to the education of their children. So they should see to it that their children are answering and executing the activities that are relevant to the competencies that they need to learn from the class. Instead of radio-based instruction, the SPED teacher will request to the education program supervisor of the special education to have a television-based instruction of the quarter 1 to quarter 4 lessons of learners with special education needs. Another recommendation is that the researcher should enhance its conduction with an ample amount of time and additional participants to achieve its desired results, validity, and reliability. And the last one, the research should be presented in the School Learning Action Cell or SLAC or in service trainings for secondary, not only in secondary, but also in elementary teachers. So that's it. As a special education teacher, I want to share that big things came from small ones. And again, I am Etidal Z. Dela Paz-Gallones, and this is my research entitled MUSIKALIDAD, Music Videos to Manage Hyperactivity of Learners with Intellectual Disabilities. Good day, everyone, and God bless.